Today's show was going to have a different subject, but something unexpected came up. Microsoft announced that it has bought InXile Entertainment and Obsidian Entertainment, two very important studios that have made some very enjoyable RPGs over the years and some great games in general. It's important that we talk about them because this is part of a very big change of focus that Microsoft has put into motion this year, and it will continue over the course of the next year and will usher in the new age of the consoles, of the new Xbox, the Xbox 2, spelled T-O-O I believe, or TWU, and will have a very important effect on PC games as well. This whole thing started at E3 when Microsoft announced that it had bought Playground Games. That's not really a big news. Playground Games was a bit like Insomniac is to Sony. Yeah, they're independent, but they never made a game that wasn't for a specific console made by that specific manufacturer. In case of Insomniac, it was the PlayStation. In case of Playground Games, they had always made Xbox games, one in particular, Forza Horizon. They've never made anything else. Them being bought by Microsoft was really, I wouldn't say a matter of time, it was overdue. They've made 4 games in the series already. I don't understand why they were not the property of Microsoft, since Forza is the property of Microsoft that was developed in conjunction with Turn 10 Games, which is the property of Microsoft. But then came 2 other announcements. They had bought Ninja Theory. Now, Ninja Theory has made titles for Sony at one point. They made Heavenly Sword, but for the most part, in the last couple of years, their last game actually, that was fully independent. Hellblade: Sesuna's Sacrifice was a game touted as being a magnificent example of what a developer can do with a moderate budget, delivering AAA quality on a very modest budget compared to pretty much anything else in the industry. It is a studio with a lot of experience that has proved it can do quite well with limited resources. And after being touted as a champion of independent development, it gets bought out. It's a fun situation that tends to happen. And then came actually a surprise announcement that Compulsion Games was also bought out. Compulsion Games has only 2 games to its credit. One of them was Contrast, which was a platformer of sorts with shadows and stuff, and then was We Happy Few. We Happy Few, which started out as kind of a lackluster crafting survival randomly procedurally generated game, and then turned into something that is actually, well, it still has that bit in it, but it's got a bit more of a story, it has a bit more of a point to it, and it seemed like a good enough game compared to what I played of it, which wasn't a lot. Not great though, it's fine. But still, it's a game from a studio that proved it can do quite a lot with a small budget, a budget raised through Kickstarter, a crowd-funded game if you will. And then they announced that they bought Undead Labs, developers of State of Decay 1 and 2, games that I've never actually played, but I've heard some good things about, and these were games published by Microsoft. So there was a pre-existing link there. So then being bought out, yeah, that seemed like the logical step, which is why I kind of feared that Remedy will be next. I'm saying this because initially I believed that that's where it ended, that they bought those studios, well, because nobody was making games for them anymore. They had very few first-party studios. They have 343 Industries, which is making a Halo game. They have the Coalition, which is making Gears of War. They have Rare, which is sad, and Mojang, which is, Minecraft. They have Minecraft. That's not enough to actually drive a platform, because none of these games are really gigantic system sellers. You have to be invested in Gears of War to care about Gears of War at this point. I haven't cared about Gears of War since the second one, since it was on PC and stuff. As for Halo, well, it's getting kind of long in the tooth. They even tried to retcon the series so that Master Chief isn't the central character. Do you actually believe that the Master Chief was the central character of the series? No. It's, what's his face? The guy. They have some issues with Halo, is what I'm saying. Rare, again, they've made Sea of Thieves, which is getting content, finally, I guess, but it sort of vanished off the face of the earth after release because everybody realized it wasn't really, it wasn't really the kind of game that you would enjoy for prolonged periods of time with people because they're fixing it. It's probably gonna take a year or so. And they have Forza. That's not enough to build a platform on. Yeah, they also have some of their, affiliated developers, people that will make games mostly for them, but they don't have what you would call big franchises they can build a platform on. They don't have the Spider-Man, the God of War, the Last of Us, the Quantic Dream to make a David Cage game that's insane a bit. They don't have any of that. So that's why they bought, Playground Games was a given, I don't even count that. They bought Ninja Theory, they bought Compulsion Games, they bought Under the Labs, and now they've bought InXile and Obsidian. So they have racing games, they have experimental exploration, adventure, whatever we happy few and contrast could be considered as being. They have your survival post-apocalyptic thing that can probably end in tragedy with people dying and have melodramatic, state of decay. They have your action games from Ninja Theory. They were lacking RPGs. And as Bethesda have shown us, and as BioWare showed us at one point, RPGs can sell quite well on consoles. And Sony, they don't really... Well, yeah, they could... Final Fantasy really isn't a Sony thing anymore. It's an every platform thing. But they don't have a big RPG studio. They don't have a big RPG. Well, Microsoft just bought 2 studios that can make such a game, or could make such a game if they had the budget for it. But what's important here is that they didn't go out and buy a big company, like a big studio. In most of these cases, they bought mid-level, not really all that high budget studios. Affordable ones, if you will. Ones that will not eat up a lot of resources but could benefit greatly from the support that they can be given from Microsoft. Now sure, technically they would have had very little options if they wanted to buy a bigger studio. They had CD Projekt as an option, Bethesda to buy the whole company. They could afford it, it's Microsoft. Or maybe they could have bought Larian, which is a bit of a bigger company now than Obsidian because it has 2 studios, meaning that Larian is kind of one of the last few independent RPG developers out there. Well, yeah, that and Warhorse. And I guess you could consider them candidates as much as InXile and Obsidian, and as Compulsion, because these were studios that exist because of crowdfunding. Now, some people may have seen this move a bit cynically, saying that, you asked us for money again and again and again, and we gave it to you, and now that you have success, that you've managed to accomplish what you wanted to, that you've built something great on our funding, on our money that we gave to you, not as investors to want the money back just because we wanted games. Now you turn your back on us and you go back to the publishers that would not even talk to you 5 years ago. Some people may see this as a bit of a betrayal, probably not as big a one as the Oculus incident with Facebook, but I have no doubt that some people will see this as, I actually have seen the evidence on RPG Codex, that some people are not super duper happy because of the move. But here's the thing that you have to keep in mind. Obsidian was ran like garbage, according to Chris Avalon. I don't think he used those exact words, but the company's payroll was handled by people that didn't really care all that much to pay the developers or reward them for their hard work. Anyway, it's a whole thing. And because of the leadership that the studio has and how it's sometimes botched big projects just out of incompetence, and add to that the speculation, the possibility that, we talked about this on the podcast. Pillars of Eternity may have sold less than 120,000 units, which was almost a fifth of what they were expecting it to sell. That is not the mark of a studio that has a long and happy future ahead of it. Obsidian being bought out by Microsoft was probably the only way to save the studio from going belly up. Does this mean Chris Avalon's gonna come back? Who knows? Well, probably not. He's doing the whole dying light thing, or dead light, dying light. There's a lot of games. The Zombie Parkour one, the sequel to it, he's doing that. I wonder if Microsoft's gonna buy Techland though. And then we have InXile. We don't have information about how InXile is doing, but from the tweets that you occasionally see come out of the studio, you would sort of think that they're doing okay. I mean, Brian Fargo even said that if the Bard's Tale 4 sells 2 million units in 18 months, so that's with it going on sale, he would try to buy back Interplay. Now sure, 2 million units for that kind of game, that is woohoo, probably not gonna happen. But there are a lot of people that want that to happen and may just buy the game on sale, just make sure that that would happen, which would positively influence the finances of the studio. I'm not sure if they were in as dire a situation as Obsidian was, but I keep coming with the buts, I cannot lie. They, and when I say they, I mean Obsidian and InXile, will greatly benefit from Microsoft initially. Initially, you will see them get budgets that they never dreamed of. You've seen what they can do with $2-3 million. Imagine what they can do with 10. Imagine what these people can do with $10 million, with 12, with $20 million, and the necessary people to test their games properly. I know what you're going to say. Was Microsoft really going to give them $20 million to make some RPG? Microsoft spent $90 million on a defunct Halo MMO that never saw the light of day. Microsoft has money to burn. Microsoft spent $1 billion. Well, I should not spend. Lost $1 billion on the failure of the first Surface generation. Microsoft has money coming out of its ears. It's printing money, and it's printing more and more money because, well, it's foraging you for data and stuff, and also that other things. It's selling operating systems and not spying on you or the government. Anyway, back on track. Those studios, those people, especially the ones at Obsidian, they're now really happy to not have Fergus in full charge anymore. He's got somebody that gives him orders now, which is a good thing, because, well, again, read Chris Avalon's statements about what happened. They now have the ability to make some really great games. And I hope that also means that the games currently in development, Wasteland 3 especially, will receive the extra support that Microsoft can muster to test the game, to improve it quality-wise. I mean, not to add the loot boxes to it or something. No, they've tried to shy away from it in the past months, so hopefully that won't happen. And they have been told that they get to maintain some form of independence. They hope that their culture will be maintained, and it won't be. Time and time again, we've seen this happen. A spunky creative studio gets bought out by some big corporation that tells the kid, I'm gonna throw at you a sack of money. You do with it what you do best. I'm just gonna sit back here and enjoy the show. And once in a while, I'll come to you and say, hey, you're doing good, kid, but maybe put that thing there and do that thing there. And say you're working here, yeah, you should move into this office. It's bigger, it's roomier, it's closer to us. It's okay. So not all of you will move. Okay, most of you will move. You'll handle it. It'll be great. It'll be amazing. You'll have so much fun making a MOBA version of the game you used to make. I'm using Westwood as an example here. I know it's not Microsoft, but if I use Microsoft as an example, well, it would be Ensemble, and what they did to Ensemble was really sad and kind of horrible, but I can't do that. Microsoft is in the middle of a change right now because it has been getting its ass handed to it in the console department to the point where they no longer announce the sales numbers for the Xbox console. Nobody that's winning does that. Even Apple has stopped announcing sales numbers because the last batch, well, wasn't as big as the previous one, and that caused shares to take a nosedive, so they won't be announcing that anymore. When sales are going down, you do not broadcast it. So Microsoft wants to salvage the Xbox. It wants to make sure that the next generation is going to be their best. And to do that, they've recruited a couple of studios with a large experience in making PC games, which is kind of a problem for us. They've done this in the past with, well, the first Xbox, and you know what that turned into. We got shafted big time. The company's entire PC games division was put under the banner of the Xbox division, and those people did not give a rat's ass about the PC, and that's how we got Games for Windows Live, which was initially something that didn't support mouse control, required you to pay for multiplayer and achievements. What I'm saying is, Microsoft has burned us badly in the past, and I mean super badly. Ho ho, dear God, we're still feeling it. But this was under Steve Ballmer's leadership. Ballmer isn't at Microsoft anymore. He hasn't been there for a while, and the gaming division has been, since 2017, fully in the control of Phil Spencer. Well, he's been in charge of it since 2014, since Satya Nadella promoted him to that function, but he's got more control over it in the past couple of years. And it's down to Phil. If Phil can protect the studios he just bought from the corporate influence that exudes from any corporation, there may be some hope. If he can stand between Microsoft, the juggernaut that bleeds suffering and exudes torment, and the gaming division, then we may see some improvements. Because even he has stated that the Windows Store is a piece of crap. Well, he didn't put it in those words, but he has said that it is not really all that great. And so far, that component of Microsoft has been in the hands of the Windows team. Well, now it's in his hands. He is in charge of everything gaming related at Microsoft, and now it's up to him to make the Windows Store not suck. But there is a very important question here. Will he make it not suck, or will he make it not give you a choice that it sucks or not? And by that I mean, will he continue the Game Pass initiative, which lets you play a game you bought on Xbox on the PC if it has a PC version? You basically get both games at the same time. Will he continue that, or will he make sure that the games made by InXile, made by Obsidian, never get a chance to be played through something other than the Xbox Store and the Windows Game Store? Because if that's what's gonna happen, it's gonna be Games for Windows Live again. It's gonna be a disaster, and, well, there won't be a bright future for InXile or for Obsidian. If those games can't be sold on GOG or Steam, just like none of the Xbox games can be sold now. If you want to play Forza, go to the Microsoft Store. If you want to play Gears of War, go to the Microsoft Store. If you want to play Halo, well, you just gotta get it, so don't bother. If that comes into play, you're pretty much guaranteed that very few of the audience that those studios have cultivated will follow them and their adventures at Microsoft. Some of them will try, but unless there's a huge improvement in the game store itself, they won't stay. They'll leave. They'll go to somebody that hasn't sold out. And again, some of them will see this as those studios selling out. They'll go to Larian, because Larian is just Larian. It's not Microsoft. It's not an extension of a corporation that has really not been all that friendly to people in the past and hasn't built up the trust. Trust is a very hard thing to rebuild once you've lost it. And Microsoft has lost it several times. But if it will have initiatives like, hey, you can buy this game DRM free on GOG, but if you buy it on the Windows Store, you also get the Xbox version for free, because it's part of Game Pass, and you too can play Obsidian's new, this isn't Fallout, but we're getting close to it RPG. Oh my god, they're gonna make Fallout again. They're gonna make Wasteland 4 as a Fallout game. That's why they bought both of them. That is why they bought both. They bought InXile for the IP and Obsidian because they made New Vegas. Holy crap, I just cracked it. They're gonna have a first-person post-apocalyptic RPG for the Xbox 2, set in the Wasteland universe, made by Obsidian. Possibly. Speculatively. We'll see. Currently, no new... Oh my god, InXile just said that beyond Wasteland 3, they cannot say for sure if they can release games on GOG. Well, nice knowing you fine people. Hopefully you won't get shut down like Ensemble was. Knowing that no matter how hard you work on a game and how well it's gonna sell, you were still canned 6 months before the project was complete. All that was left was to wait it out. Oh, and work on the game. that you'll never get any enjoyment out of. But that may be just me being a bit too pessimistic and not having really faith that Microsoft has changed. But again, it's down to Phil Spector. If he can keep Microsoft from being Microsoft, well, his bit of Microsoft from being Microsoft, then it may turn out well. Then again, he can be fired at any time because it's Microsoft. It's a big giant corporation. Everybody's trying to murderize. It's a bit like Dead Man's Shoes in this world. So we'll just have to wait and hope for the best. But goddamn, can you imagine an Obsidian game without mods support? Without the ability to fix it? That would be sad as sad can be. Goodbye, everybody.